right now, it's approximately $90,000.
One account is $90,000?
No, the all
No,
total.
it's a combination.
All total.
Combination of CDs, savings
total.
accounts, checking.
So, anything else? I mean, can I just, just so that I understand it now, the analysis that I'm making in my mind right now, by way of having to cast a vote to dissolve the fire district, is that over the course of years, due to an auditor error, there's at least $200,000 in surplus monies that the board has just recently become aware of that resulted as a result of this auditor's error, that the board has discussed going forward, utilizing it for purposes of reduction in the amount that needs to be raised by taxation.
Well, the total 200 is not auditor error, just part of the LoSAP money. I mean, there's still bona fide surplus.
Right.
And that's not an error.
No. I mean, the LoSAP portion, part of the LoSAP is,
Part of the 150.
Part of the
What part of the 150?
that we don't know yet. I just got the files out because I had to go back to 2002.
Now, Mr. President, also, a lot of this, not a lot, but some of it, they transferred from Lincoln or from Wachovia to Lincoln. When they did that, I don't know how many people were in Lincoln's accounts, but if they weren't invested, when that got moved, they lost their accounts and may have gone into that also because they weren't invested. I'm no accountant, trust me, but I'm trying to say that there is even some of that
I
could have
understand what
been.
you're saying.
It's recaptured.
Right,
Right.
that's all it is. For some,
So that would explain why it's accumulated.
right.
And for people in the audience, if you're investing in a plan, it usually takes 5 or 6 years. If you don't spend the entire time there, then the plan has the ability to recapture the funds that it put in and take them back into the general.
And that would explain.
That would explain.
some of the 150.
Right.
Let me ask, just to clarify my own mind, the error was discovered precisely when?
By this auditor.
So only just in
2010
weeks, not,
audit.
this was
This year?
after,
This year?
this was just to confirm, this was after the fire district vote.
Before or after the petition was known to.
No, I'm interested in the
No,
vote.
they started, I'm trying to think when they started the audit. I believe they started in, this is what, I believe they started in the middle of March.
So they started the audit in the middle of March. So by that time, the budget that was going to be exposed to the public had already been drafted.
Right, that was, so this was an inadvertent then,
Impact.
at that point, okay.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah.
I apologize for not making the first meeting. I was unavailable, so, they tried to bring me up to speed. So, please correct me if I heard something wrong. My understanding is that, should the district be dissolved, that the council, the town, the borough would be taking over fire protection service,
That's our understanding.
okay? And you would be funding what?
Well, the legal question. We would take, apparently we take this year's current budget and this year's current tax levy. We would complete out this budget, and then next year, we would look at the budget and see which line items would continue. Some of them would obviously disappear, salaries, professionals, and any other savings we could make. And then the levy the following year would be reduced to whatever the borough determined it needed to spend to provide the fire protective services. It can give the volunteer fire company up to $90,000. We would be the owner of the trucks, which we would have to maintain, insure, do things like that. We would become responsible for LoSAP directly ourselves, and we would have to pay for the insurance existing today. So there was a reduction, I guess between 55,000 to 70,000 less could be raised in taxes before the issue of the surplus came up. So it would appear to me in year one, taxes would stay the same because we now have their budget and their levy for the balance of the year. Next year, we would be able to do exactly what the commissioners would do. We would be able to reduce the taxes by using this available surplus in our budget. And then on a go-forward basis, these expenses would be put in the borough's budget without these additional expenses.
We don't need to worry about whether or not a budget goes down.
Right. But you do have to worry about the cap.
No, we get a new cap. Our cap changes.
Yeah, it doesn't affect.
We get your cap plus our cap. It is lovely, isn't it? Apparently they also may not do a look back, so we get it and whatever the number is, we get, it gets folded and they don't barely chase that around through the system.
But am I correct, even if this were to be voted on tonight, and let's say the council voted for dissolution, then it goes to DCA, nothing happens until we actually have an ordinance, am I correct?
Well, they would, right, the final, they have to get the meeting, and I'm pretty sure this, second Tuesday of the month, they meet, so these local finance board meets. This would be a fairly simple dissolution because the district has no bonded indebtedness. There's no bonds to be captured, recaptured, things like that. This would simply be us taking over their budget, making sure that all their obligations are going to be honored, all their leases will be paid. If we would get the money, we would get the title of the equipment, and that would be the end of it. The whole
Do they
purpose
have
of
to
it-
approve it, or they just,
They just want, their goal is to make sure that nobody who's lent or is owed money by this fire district doesn't not get paid and doesn't lose out on the creditworthiness they believe they had when they lent it to an entity that had the ability to assess ad valorem taxes. So that's the DCA's total obligation, is not an analysis of whether or not it's a good idea, just the nuts and bolts of everybody gets paid and the budget.
but then it still has to come back for an ordinance?
Well, I believe the ordinance would be to adjust our budget, to adjust our rate, or to diffuse the rate, and us to incur these obligations, which we talked about, the 2 leases, and,
When I spoke with Mark Pfeiffer of the DCA, he said that he actually helps write the ordinance.
he gives you, basically, he gives you the ordinance, they tell you exactly what is in it, because they will tell you exactly what they want. They're guaranteeing the fiscal integrity of the entities that are being dissolved, and the borough, to make sure that everyone that does business with the public entity is protected. That's DCA's
I
sole
guess my
function.
question is, the dissolution, though, doesn't happen until then?
So the ordinance is passed.
Well, we need an ordinance to do that, but the statute would say, the last line says, upon the passage of this resolution, effectively it's dissolved. The ordinance is just it's like buying a house. When you buy the house, you put the deposit down, you bought the house. You close title later, but you bought the house. If you vote to dissolve today, you bought the house. Now it's just a matter, we're gonna go down there for the RESPA, and the ordinance, think of the ordinance, everyone who's bought here as buying a house. This is gonna be the RESPA. Who gets this credit for taxes? Who gets that credit for water and sewer? Who takes over the first mortgage? Who takes over the second mortgage? What gets paid? And the final outcome is, the fire district no longer exists, the borough has all of their assets, and then the borough can have a relationship with the fire company, which many towns do. They can make as we said, a contribution up to $90,000, can allow them to use the trucks that would be the borough's, and that would become just another municipal obligation.
Did you have another
If I might,
question?
Mr. Lane, I would refer the council to the statute 4858-20, not 91, but 4858.
But that's the dissolution portion, right?
There's 20, that says notwithstanding the provision of any other law, to the contrary, the governing body, by ordinance in the case of a municipality, shall dissolve the authority, except that the ordinance shall be approved by the local finance board prior to adoption.
That's correct, that's the ordinance
And
they're
it
gonna
has
give
to
us.
make sure, well, that's, if you pass a resolution today, that does not, as you said, under 91, but can I finish? It also goes on to say that it is the obligation not only for providing for the assumption of whatever payment of creditors are, to make necessary that for the health, safety, and welfare of the recipients of the service, that there is going to be the same level of providing the service.
Eddie, that argument, you're not gonna win that argument. The reason why is because you got enough cash around fire company's got $100,000 sitting in cash.
I don't.
And the fire district's got 200 and some odd thousand dollars.
We know how that story goes, and we know that in connection with the petitioner by public press is always referring to the town of Bradley Beach and saying that Spring Lake Heights could operate like Bradley Beach, and if you noticed in the newspaper, juxtaposed in last Thursday's
not lost
paper,
business.
is the fact that Bradley Beach hasn't apparently been doing the job of maintaining their equipment, that their equipment is deteriorating, their personal protective equipment is deteriorating, and personnel is leaving because of the inability to provide funding through the municipal budget. Maybe that's because of the 2% caps. I don't know what it's called, but it's not simple. If you pass a resolution tonight under 91, it's the end. It has to be by ordinance, and it has to be pre-approved by DCA.
It sounds dangerous like what I just said.
Paul, did you have another question?
It wasn't so much a question as a statement. I've been with fire districts 32 years. I've represented over 30 fire districts over the years. And I just want to make sure the board understands what a dissolution vote means. I'm an accountant, you know, deal with numbers every day, but this isn't about numbers. I mean, financially, you know, it's a 3.3 cent. I've only encountered one other district that was less than 3.3 cents. And what are you getting for that 3.3 cents? I think you have to look at that. What headaches are you taking on? Sure, maybe you pick up $250,000 in year one, but what about after that? You know, there's a lot of requirements in the fire services now. Every 10 years, you have to buy new gear. One set of gear is $5,000. Every 15 years, you have to replace the SCBA tanks. Every 5 years, you have to do a special test on the SCBA tanks. You have to have annual ladder testing. You have to have 5-year annual. I mean, you're taking on a lot of responsibility of the council that currently resides with 5 fire commissioners. So financially, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, we're you know, everybody is at the limit. We're at cap. I don't know if anybody noticed that in our 2011 budget, but we're at cap. You're close to cap. You're using up surplus. I mean, do you really want to take this on? Is it really worth 3.3 cents?
Council, have any other questions? Do I have a motion then to open the floor to the public?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? If you'd like to speak or ask a question, would you come to the microphone, please? Anyone?
I think people can line up, right, Mayor?
Yeah, please
You can
line up.
line up behind
Sure.
if you want.
Sure. Please state your name and address.
Jim Merriman, Assistant Chief, Spring Lake Heights Fire Department. Again, I ask all of you, look in this room behind me. This tells you something. 600 people's names on a petition should tell you something. The auditor said, yes, we made a mistake. Now, I'm not mistaken, but a couple of years ago, I remember when the mayor and council made a mistake and sent a check to the school board for $250,000. And it sat over there for 8 months until someone realized it was there. So let's all not get on our high horses and go, oh, we'd never do that. Mistakes happen. I can guarantee you this has scared the hell out of the Board of Fire Commissioners, because it scared the hell out of me. And I definitely believe that they will do a better job than they're doing now. 3.2 cents is really, do you want that? Do you want me to walk up here as the chief in 5 years and go, excuse me, mayor and council, but we need $3 million to get our gear up to date. OSHA has thrown out 20 sets of gear and 18 Scott packs. Right now, a Scott pack is $8,000 for one pack. When it gets heave-hoed, OSHA looks at it and says, oh, that's a 2000, that's a 1988 pack. They take the whole thing and they throw it in a dumpster. Sorry, I gotta get another one. Again, John Lewis has done nothing but cap Bradley Beach. Again, we find out the truth. I'm asking you, for the people of this town, if you ride around town, we had people asking for signs. Most of those signs that were out there, people would call us up and say, could you get me one of those signs? I want to show my support for the fire, not only district, but the company. Even though it sounds, one hand helps the other. We put the fire out, they give us the equipment to do that. I'm sure you have a borough mechanic. If you send the trucks to the borough mechanic to get the oil changed or do regular diesel mechanic, the work, and then turn around and send it out to P&L for all of its pump testing, they're going to rape you. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, gee, this is the cost. Who are you? Well, you don't do our stuff, so we're going to rape you. I'm asking you, please, do not vote for the dissolution of the Spring Lake Heights Fire District.
Thanks, Jim.
Steve Howard from 615 Central Avenue. I'm not quite sure if the council wants to dissolve the fire department.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, they
I'm not
can't
sure
hear you.
We're here because petitioners brought a petition.
Yeah, because
We didn't initiate it.
Okay, so I'm basically looking at this. It's, your biggest complaint is that they've asked too much money. That's it. There's no safety issues. There's no personnel issues. There's no issues whatsoever except that the board members never went to a fire commissioners meeting to see what they were doing. So I think that's what we really need to do, is assign an individual from this board to go to these meetings so that you really know what's going on. And at that point, that's really what you need to do. Leave them do their jobs. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else? Please line up so we'll save some time perhaps.
Bill Fury, 1707 Bright Lane. Wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to. I'm even going to try and record it. Don't mean to hurt anyone on council at all. I'm not here to do that. I think all of you are really here because your heart is in the right place. However, I feel that one member should not even be allowed to vote on this and recuse themselves from it, because even before the petition was presented to you, this member decided that they thought the fire company should be dissolved and that the council should take over all of the work of the fire district. I don't know what else you can do except ask the person to drop it. I'll say that to that attorney, to that attorney, and to that attorney. Secondly, we're all trying to save money wherever we can. Everybody on that council is trying to save money. Some on council seem to think eliminating the district will save money. I think the real issue was stated here by Mr. Lane, and was his comments were tonight. They were very good. But who wants to be in control of the money? That's what this is all about. Much of what you propose to save will be offset by moving work to the borough. And it's an expense. You still have to pay for it. You're going to give them more work. Part of the borough expense spending for fire equipment will be controlled by people who know little or nothing about the fire department or how it operates. An additional expense would be added for advisors to help with assessing the needs regarding the spending, thus further reducing the savings. The elected council thinks it can do better than the fire district. Remember, I'm not here to hurt anybody. But only a few months ago, Spring Lake Heights suffered the consequences of over 5 or 6 years of the council deciding whether or not they wanted to buy garbage trucks and new equipment. And when the snow came, every piece of equipment we had in this town broke, except the fire department's equipment. We had to get other towns to come in and bail us out, because we didn't have equipment. And even now, no one has done anything to actually get it moving and get new equipment. Fire trucks have to be maintained and replaced, as the auditor just said a few moments ago. We can't afford breakdowns. We need it when we need it. If that box goes off right now, 30 guys are out the door. Doesn't matter what happens in here, we're out the door. Spring Lake Heights voted over the years to buy the fire trucks. They want to know that the equipment will be there when it's needed. I've heard too many comments in this room about fire trucks being expensive and unnecessary. Those who voted for the trucks know they're costly, they know they're needed. Disbanding the district will not make much of a change for your taxes. The costs are still going to be there. Those in control understand what is needed and why the council will have to hire advisors to go through it and work with them all the time. Residents have control over the fire district. They come out once a year and vote on the budget, or if we want to offer a new piece of equipment, they come out and vote it up or down. It's up to the residents. The Borough Council, I think your budget was passed last week or adopted last week. There's no vote from the public. It's only the council that votes on that. We have a say by speaking our piece like I'm doing now, and then you take your vote. There is no vote from the public. The only vote for the tax dollar in the town is from the fire district. Over 600 people in our town have decided to sign a petition to not disband the district. They're all taxpayers. They're all trying to do the best thing that they think they can do also. The gentleman that got up just a minute ago before me, I have no idea, I've never met him before, but he basically said the same thing I'm about to say. Why not try working together to serve, such as add a liaison from your agency to the fire agency, and from the fire agency to your agency, and start talking to one another, start building a truth and trust between each other instead of taking it all down by getting rid of the district. Maybe that might be the best thing for the town. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
807 Park Avenue. I would like to thank our attorney for starting the dialogue with the questions. Last week I stood up and I asked that you remember the seniors in the town and cost, which I know you're very aware of. One of the things I would like to say is that this is the best dialogue that I've heard in a long time. Mr. Merriman made reference to the school, having sat there through those days, and not easy, I know. So what I would ask of you right now is to improve for the fire commissioners, to improve the way they go about doing what they've done. My question would be, I'd like to know who the auditor was that made the error, because I haven't heard that mentioned. And if this was just uncovered within the last couple of weeks or months, I find that to be very upsetting. Our fire company and the men have done a good job over the years, and for someone to make that kind of error and not own up to it, I find very upsetting. And I think that the commission, and I know the fire company, the men do a damn good job, but what I want to see is changes, improvements. When they have their elections, go to the voting machines, make improvements, expend some of the money to rent those machines from the county if they have to, things like that. So we're not doing business the way we've always done business in this town. Thank you.
Thanks, Evelyn. Ray?
Ray Miller, 567 Monmouth Avenue, Spring Lake Heights. I have a question, and then I have a statement. I hear that there's a little over $100,000 that we need at the beginning of the year until April for the fire company to operate until they get their first check.
Fire district.
Fire district to operate until they get their first check from the town, correct?
Yes.
Is that what's been decided? How many checks a year, how
The
many checks?
DCA recommends that.
Yeah, all right, how many checks a year do you get? Four. So the last check of the year, presumably, if number 3 check is gonna take you from 3 to 4, then 4 is gonna take you to number 1. So why do we need the $100 and some thousand or $250,000 or whatever it is? Why do we need that sitting there? I could see the first year where you gotta give them $100,000 in seed money. But after that, that check is there, the last payment is there to carry them until the payment of the first payment of the next year comes in. That's that much. I hear a lot of animosity from the fire company, firemen, about what's going on. And as a former commissioner, I can tell you that the questions you have been asked for years. It's not just the last 3 or 4 years or 5 years. They've been asked for years. I believe personally that the firemen are being used as pawns in a shell game. And not by Mr. Lane or Ray Miller or John Lewis or the council, but by their own leadership. Their leadership will not answer. They haven't answered. They refuse to answer simple questions. When you ask the now present chief of the fire company, how do you come about your budget? And he looks you in the eye and says, what do you mean? You're being stonewalled. When a councilwoman asks a question and gets stonewalled, nobody knows any answers. All of a sudden tonight we know numbers. Oh, Mr. Gretz can tell you numbers, and last week he didn't know anything. And now Mr. Williams is in here to talk to. You guys, there's nobody in this town that wants to see the fire department hurt. I don't. Nobody does. But you have a problem with your leadership. That's where your problem lies. Not here, not me, and not Mr. Lewis. When we ask the question about where our money is going, and you won't answer it, it ain't that you can't answer it, you won't answer it. You will not give us an answer. If somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I say, you know what, give me your phone number, I'll go home and look it up, and I'll call you. But we don't get that from them. We get, I don't know.
Don't give me that, Ray, and you
Oh,
know.
Excuse me, Jim. Excuse me, Jim.
That's why you're here. You're here because of your leadership, not because of John Lewis or Ray Miller or John Lane or this council. That's why you're here. You need to clean your house. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Just state your name and address.
Oh, I plan to. My name is Joseph Sanfelice. I live at 85 Stockton Avenue in Ocean Grove. In August of 1975, I joined the Morristown Fire Department as a volunteer. In May of 1979, I got promoted from the Parks Department to the Fire Department through the Civil Service test. In 1997, I purchased my home in Ocean Grove. In 2000, I became an Ocean Grove volunteer. And in 2005, I became a Bradley Beach volunteer fireman. Okay? Since 2006, really the end of 6 into 7, I became the engine foreman and been, due to my work schedule at the fire department, which I work a 1-on, 3-off schedule just like Asbury, I've been helping all the fire chiefs with their budget, with the equipment, with everything to do with the day-to-day operations of the fire department. I've seen some of the members are here. They did not ask me to come here. I'm here on my own because the rumor, which was brought true tonight, which made it down north 71 to Bradley Beach, 815 Main Street, that someone here is comparing the fire department in Bradley to
Spring Lake Heights, you're comparing an apple to a grape. If you saw the article next to yours in the Coast Star, our equipment in Bradley Beach is well behind yours. I finally got to get into the firehouse to look at it to make the comparison. The only thing I have to offer, and now this is my opinion, myself, I do not represent the feelings of the fire company or the Borough of Bradley Beach. I'm only here because of the rumor. And now that the rumor was true, which I don't know how this gentleman got his information, because I would take it up with the Borough of Bradley Beach to say who's thinking that our fire department is, which I understand that a lot of fire departments are not fully staff funded because of the climate, understood. But the Bradley Beach budget is not even close to being sufficient. I have a 2008 pumper and a new Chiefs car. We have a 1975, which I told the Coast Star, which any of you come see. Come on up to 71. Look in the firehouse. I have a Chevy with a manual choke. I have an 81 Han that we got from the chief from Lakewood for $1 because the borough refused to fix one of our trucks. And we have an 86 Han. If any of the fire guys that know equipment, no, that went out of business. Next year they bought the truck. And that company's been out of business for 20, the truck's 25, it's been out for 24. And when we sent it out to repair, which we finally found a company that has all the Han records, everything is special made. Unless it's a general part, which they can get for us. Which a lot of the Han trucks, if it's a pumper, it's easier because the motor trans and the pump and the axles, they're readily available. Anything to do with a Han part or a Han Fire Spirit, that's the name of the ladder, special made. We're well behind. OSHA did come into Bradley Beach and threw out over 30 sets of gear. And if you take the minute, the gentleman should show you the booklet of a new set of gear. The manufacturer recommends you replace it in 7, not 10. We stretch it to 10 because they let you go to 10 because we don't have the fires like we used to. Now, if you go to the city of New York, you never see them in dirty gear because they have 2 sets and one gets always set out. Okay, in Bradley Beach, we barely have enough for what we got. Air packs are way behind. We have no spare hose. And every year, just last year, I'll give you our hose test, which we finally started doing. We lost 17 lengths and we didn't really have a fire. We helped Ocean Grove out. We really didn't lay too much hose. We lost 17 lengths just because of age. And in my town of Morristown, for the last 5 years, we've been losing over 20. Like they were saying, a lot of this stuff is not made to last forever. Good 15 years on an air bottle, 5 years hydrostatic test. Hose testing, they're telling you now if you can take it for 20, and if it passes, you can keep it. And a lot of this stuff costs big bucks. So if to compare, I'm really here because you're comparing to Bradley Beach. Come on, pick somebody better. I like Bradley Beach. I'm helping them out. Here you got 30 guys. I wish we could have 30 guys. 30 young guys. I've been going to calls and I'm going to be 57. Okay? Now, because the one thing, and I think they're trying to tell you, just like in Bradley Beach, you can decide not to replace anything. You can decide not to do anything. You can decide that. Because in Bradley Beach, the fire company helped them purchase the truck. That's the only way we would have got it. and we submitted a list for the 5-year lease purchase from the county. Hopefully we get some things on that. So the reason I'm here, and it sounds like it's an axe to grind by somebody, and I thought it was just a rumor, but now that I see it's not a rumor and it's true, you better find a better fire department to compare it to. And I invite any one of you to come up and take a look at our equipment. Any one of you. I have nothing to hide. Just like the article said, I have nothing to hide. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.